I met Dionysus. Saga and I watched Marvel movies up until Endgame. I played chess with Bastet.
Okay, but these all sound like really great episodes that I would actually very much like to watch. So, get on that, BBC. Hello, Internet. I'm Ren, and today I want to talk to you about Doctor Who Season 2, Episode 5, The Story and the Engine. This was such an interesting episode with an incredibly creative idea and some really fascinating new characters and a really engaging story. Or stories, I should say. But I can't say much more without spoilers, so let's get into it. This is going to be another low-key, unscripted review, so it's just me, my notes, and my hyperfixation while we break down this episode. This video will also contain spoilers for Doctor Who up to this point, so you have been warned. On their continuing adventures to try and get Belinda home, the Doctor and Belinda make a pit stop to Vindicate in Lagos, Nigeria in 2019.
Oh, we can boost the Vindicator if we go to Lagos, Nigeria.
The Doctor is excited because it also presents an opportunity for him to visit his favorite barber shop.
It has the largest communications technology market in Africa and it's near Almost Palace.
Almost Palace?
My favorite barber shop.
Where he doesn't go for haircuts because
The TARDIS does your hair.
instead he goes for the sense of belonging that he gets. Because walking the world in a black body means that he's often treated differently in certain places.
I'm not human and my body changes a lot. Some parts of the earth I'm now treated differently.
And so the barbershop presents an opportunity for him to feel totally accepted.
But here in Africa, in that barber shop, I'm accepted.
And completely forget about that for a while.
We laugh, we tell stories, they
Treat you like one of their own?
And Belinda astutely points out that that sense of belonging the Doctor craves is one of the most human feelings in the world.
You say you're not human. That's the most human thing ever, Doctor.
And I really love that exchange between the two of them, because Belinda also has a certain understanding of it.
My nan took me to India whenever she could, for the same reason.
Unfortunately, Omo and his customers are being held hostage in the barber shop by some kind of cryptid barber that demands stories to power his mysterious machine.
They cannot leave. No one can.
The Doctor goes into the barber shop to investigate and finds himself trapped along with the others. And later he discovers that Omo actually kind of lured him there,
Look how much his hair has grown. Can I just go now?
or set him up, rather, by making the barber aware of his existence and his stories.
His stories alone can superpower the engine.
And the Doctor's absolutely gutted by this.
I love this shop. I loved you, Omo.
Like, he's just heartbroken. And he makes sure to let Omo know it.
Trust each other with both of my hearts, with everything that I am. No teaching.
And it's really sad. The next arrival is Abby, a woman who brings food for the men, and seems to be able to come and go freely. She appears to be assisting the cryptid barber in his story-related efforts. And there seems to be a kind of familiarity between her and the Doctor.
You know that face? Why do I know your face?
After seeing her arrive, the Doctor tries to open the door and discovers that they are trapped in outer space, skeetering around on a web in the body of a giant metallic spider. Very cool and normal stuff. And the cryptid reveals that the spider is powered by stories, and that the web he saw is something he used to refer to as the World Wide Web.
The Nexus, I used to call it the World Wide Web.
Meanwhile, Belinda, who is waiting for the Doctor in the TARDIS, begins to panic when the alarms go off, and so she goes looking for the Doctor. And she makes her way to the barber shop, although she spots a creepy child along the way. Unfortunately, when she arrives at the shop, she lets the door close behind her and finds herself trapped with the rest of them.
Alarms in the TARDIS must have been going on.
Yeah, it really threw my ears off.
You're the nurse from his story.
Who all recognize her because she featured in a story that the Doctor shared to power the machine.
Without steroids, she could die.
Right, this is yours.
It's my nan's birthday.
The Doctor demands to know who the barber is, and he reveals that he's been various trickster and storytelling gods through history and across cultures,
I go by many names.
including Anansi,
Anansi, the man spider.
Saga.
Saga, the Norse goddess.
It goes on and on.
Bastet, Dionysus, even Loki. I have been them all.
And the Doctor and Belinda respond to his grand announcement by bursting out laughing.
All those gods. You sure?
Because the Doctor has actually met all of these gods and knows them when he sees them.
I met Dionysus. I played chess with Bastet, and Nancy purposely lost a bet to make me marry one of his daughters.
And is absolutely confident that the Cryptid Barber is not one of the gods.
I know the gods. You are not them. Who are you?
And then he reveals the truth, or at least part of it.
The gods needed to strengthen their bond with humanity. Wherever they told story, I went.
Which is that he's not one of the gods, but rather someone who used to serve them.
That was my job. They only exist now because of me.
And created a device that replicates the human brain for the storage of stories.
What is something like the brain that could expand and make connections between ideas?
And that he eventually helped them make a larger scale version of the device. But because it worked without him, they cast him aside and basically cut him out of his life's work. And he's been festering in bitterness ever since.
All I salvaged was my story engine. We will have vengeance.
And plotting to depose them.
Make him storyteller supreme.
And Abby notes the Doctor's typically reckless behavior.
Yeah, stop moving.
The engine burned too much energy when he forced the door open. Typical Doctor.
And the Doctor realizes that he does know her, and reveals that she's Anansi's daughter,
That's it. Abby, the daughter of Anansi. Abinai?
whose hand he won in a bet, which he did try to lose.
You actually took that bet.
I tried to lose.
He ultimately does apologize to her because he didn't free her and left her behind.
I am sorry. I couldn't take you with me.
I was a fugitive back then.
And while she seems to appreciate the apology, Belinda is ultimately the one that reaches her.
Hurt people, hurt people. The difference between good and evil is what we do with our pain.
Because the Cryptid Barber's plan is not to simply replace the gods, but to erase them from human consciousness by eliminating their stories.
You are planning something.
Tell me to cut them out of memory. The gods.
And the Doctor explains that they can't let this happen, because if he takes away all of these stories, then he'll destroy the cultures and all of the connections between billions of humans.
Humans are tied to the gods. Destroying them would harm the very essence of humanity.
And alter the very fabric of human life.
A world without stories? How would they pass on tradition?
And Abina relents. She puts her trust in the Doctor and asks him to put his trust in her.
Please, Doctor. Trust me.
And she sits in the barber's chair and tells a story. But rather than getting a haircut like the rest of them did, she tells her story as she does the Doctor's hair. And the story she tells is about enslaved African women who would weave maps depicting routes to freedom into each other's hair,
Bending and curling like roads or paths.
which would allow them to escape to freedom.
Mothers to daughters. Slave to slave.
And as she does this, she weaves a map into the Doctor's hair,
All done.
which the Doctor and Belinda use to navigate to the engine room, which contains the heart, literally, of the machine.
What else could hold all stories?
And the Doctor makes a direct connection to it and begins sharing his stories with it.
Just this once. I'm a doctor. I'm a time. When you fire that first shot.
And once the Cryptid Barber catches up with them, he's initially delighted at all of the power that the Doctor is sharing with his
Told a never-ending story and gave me never-ending power.
But the Doctor uses a 6-word story,
I'm born.
I die. I'm born.
a format he claims was taught to him by Hemingway, in reference to a short and sad story that's commonly misattributed to him, to illustrate that his stories will in fact overwhelm the machine. And once again, it's really Belinda who gets through to the Cryptid Barber.
You can't process that power. Your engine could overload and explode. We'll all be sucked into space.
As all of the different versions of him continue to bicker and assert themselves on the little screen.
When people need help, I never refuse.
Definitely not the man I was.
And so, ultimately, the Cryptid Barber relents and shuts down the engine. Everyone escapes, including him, because the Doctor wants him to live and finish his story too.
What would your 6-word story be? I want you to live long enough to write it.
And he offers him compassion. And so do all of the people he held hostage, including Omo,
But you're part of my community. I should have protected you. I'm sorry.
who has decided to retire and gives the Cryptid Barber his barbershop,
Keep collecting stories. Start your own barbershop.
No need. I'm retiring.
and his father's name.
I don't even have a name for people to trust. Try Adetokunbo. My father's name.
And Abina seems to have forgiven him as well,
I understand. If you hate him, I would have that in my heart.
quoting Belinda's line back to her.
What did you say? Hurts people, hurts people.
And she also seems eager to enjoy her life of freedom.
So what will you do now? Everything I want.
And the Doctor and Belinda return to the TARDIS. Belinda mentions the child, but the Doctor didn't see her.
I saw a spooky kid back there.
I didn't see anything.
And the Doctor begins telling the story of how he met Omo.
You have to tell me about Omo.
It's a long story, but once upon a time.
And that's where the episode ends. Overall, I really loved this episode. I actually inadvertently predicted it with my review of episode 2. I kind of think it would have made more sense to do like a God of Stories or a God of Theater. And the theater did actually make an appearance again in this episode, when the barber tells us about the various ways that he's collected stories so far.
An electric cinema.
I love the way that the episode discusses storytelling as a means of sharing culture and tradition, and the incredible power that storytelling can have. I love the connection between storytelling and hair, which seems to be particularly strong in African communities. And I just really thought it was special and beautiful meta-analysis on the nature and importance of storytelling. There's been a lot of meta-analysis this season, and honestly, I think it's been pretty successful so far. All of the little jabs at the internet are pretty funny.
I used to call it the World Wide Web. Until the humans named something far uglier after that.
Especially with how generally unkind a lot of the reception to Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor has been so far on the internet. I also loved all of the smaller stories that we got within the episode.
Music was a live team.
The one that the Doctor told about Belinda was really nice. It helped us learn a little bit more about her character and how she stood up for a patient when doctors wouldn't listen or prescribe the correct treatment because of something they missed.
An Addisonian crisis can present like this. It happened to my nan. Without steroids, she could die.
And the way the woman thanked her at the end was really sweet.
You saved my life.
There was also a little cameo from Mrs. Flood in there, so that's suspicious. The way that she supports the Doctor in this episode is really wonderful, though. From the way she helps identify the Doctor's humanity and his need for belonging,
You say you're not human. That's the most human thing ever, Doctor.
to the way that she successfully manages to break through to Abby
Hurt people, hurt people.
and help her stop that cycle of bitterness. The story engine is also just such a cool and original idea. It's such a fun way to engage with storytelling through a sci-fi lens, and it was definitely something that we hadn't seen before. It was very unique. And the way that it drew inspiration from African folklore was really fun, with the kind of reference to Anansi. And I really liked the execution. The idea of a shop that's in two places at once feels very at home in a universe where the Doctor's spaceship is bigger on the inside. But it was also really fun to see the Doctor in Africa. I loved the little parallel between how different it was for the Doctor to move down the street in Lagos versus how it was for Belinda to move down that same street. Just the immediate acceptance and the way he was embraced and was drawn in by all of these familiar faces. I just loved it. And it was also fun to see the Doctor in a different environment than we usually see him, and exploring a different aspect of himself, and with sci-fi drawing on a different aspect of culture than we normally do. So overall, I think this episode was so successful in a lot of ways and really stood out by creating a tone that's slightly different from other Doctor Who episodes and yet still totally at home in this season and in the universe overall. It was also interesting seeing the fugitive Doctor again, although I'm kind of curious how much the Doctor actually remembers about that whole storyline, and whether we're going to see any more involvement with her going forward. I do wonder if the little child we saw was somehow connected to her, because a lot of the importance of her storyline was also based in her childhood. Either way, I'm interested to see where it goes. This episode really worked as both a self-contained episode in terms of telling a pretty complete story that stands on its own 2 feet. This is definitely one that you can share with fans that you're trying to get into Doctor Who, but it also still gives you some little crumbs advancing the mystery, and that's a really nice balance that this season has been striking in terms of keeping the episodic nature of Doctor Who alive, while still building to a larger storyline. There's also a really cute short story online that's from the perspective of Omo describing his meeting with the Doctor by writing about how he met him on holiday. It's really cool. It features resistance and a fire and, of course, the Doctor coming in to save the day. But it's a nice addition to the episode and a really great companion considering the story-based content of the episode. One thing that was kind of fun is the trickster aspect of the barber kind of reminded me of Audra in the Star Trek The Next Generation episode Devil's Due, where a woman impersonates various deities to scare people into basically giving their planets over to her and being subservient to her.
The Klingons call me Feklar.
You are not Feklar.
But I am.
And the deceptive aspect of appearing as different gods in different cultures was a really fun element to see revisited in another of my favorite sci-fi properties. So it's always fun when there's a little parallel between Doctor Who and Star Trek. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it made me smile. But that's all I have for you for now. What did you think of this episode? Who do you think the mysterious child was? And what was your favorite story? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos. See you next time. Wiedersehen.